Hello, everybody. Hey, it's David from Springfield, Illinois. Yes, we're in a hotel room. Take a look. It's working. Hey, this is going to be great. Hopefully, we have enough light on the subject, but we're here in Springfield, Illinois doing a workshop, and I just judged a show. And I did hour video and talked about each painting. Boy, that was a tough one. Anyways, we're here today to do some pumpkins, right, on Thursday night. And actually, I stopped. I realized I didn't have a beer. Now, I did go to a brewery, but they didn't have any canned for lunch. We went to, or actually for dinner, I guess. But I found at the one local store. I found a Pabst Blue, a Pabst Blue Ribbon, which that's very Illinois, I think. And so it's hard coffee. We'll see. It'll keep me up all night tonight. So let's see what it is. We're going to toast a Pabst Blue Ribbon hard coffee. And actually, I don't have a glass, so in the hotel room, I figured this is coffee, so I'm going to use a coffee cup. So we'll see how this tastes. It's very interesting. Hard coffee. Interesting. I wonder if it needs ice. Cheers, everybody. Cheers from Springfield, Illinois. Oh my gosh, it tastes exactly like coffee. Like iced coffee. Wow. Very interesting. It tastes exactly like, I'm going to give that a 10. That tastes great. All right, so let's go on. So let's see what else here. Hey, Barbara. Hey, Pamela. I got Monica, Mary, Sue, Patty, Tina, and Lori. Thanks guys for coming by. And so here's what we're doing. Let me first show anybody who's new that we get everything on my website at BeckerArt.net or davidartbecker.com, either one. But this is where you get all of my stuff. And tonight we're painting this scene, right? The pumpkin scene. So let's do the pumpkin scene today. And we show you the supplies for anybody who's new also. So you know the supplies I'm using. And actually I'm using these colors because I got my old palette back. So here we go, my brushes. And thanks for everybody who's ordering my brushes. Boy, we had a big order just recently. So thanks guys for ordering the brushes. I know a lot of you like them. So let's go to our value study real quick. Wow, this coffee is really good. I can't believe this tastes exactly like coffee, like iced coffee. So anyways, so here we go. We're doing the pumpkin patch, and here I turned it into a black and white, but I also put a posterized effect on it because I want to show you that the stuff in the back here, don't worry about what that stuff is. I know a lot of people in my classes, a lot of times they say, oh my gosh, I can't see what's back there. I don't know what to paint. Well, no, that's the purpose of it. I don't want you to see what's back there. And so just take it and make sure you got the right values. Put any kind of texture you want back there. And actually just make it that kind of dark. And that's what it looks like now, a bunch of stuff back there. So that's all you have to do. I am not going to put this, the handle, not the handle, what do they call that? The handle of the pumpkin. So I'm not going to put it that big. And this one right here, this part where it grows from, stem, maybe, that's what they call them, stem. Maybe not put that one on so big because it kind of follows the shape of this pumpkin. So I'm going to make that one a little bit smaller. I kind of cut it short so it doesn't tangent against this pumpkin right here. I am going to keep these, my only lights, my whites, are going to be the top of the pumpkin and top of the basket. Everything else has to be darker. No matter what you do, you got to make sure that there's not any of the other lights that are this light. Otherwise, you're not going to get that lighting effect. You're not going to get that nice, rich lighting effect that the pumpkins have on top of it. So if you put any kind of color like this, white, on top of anything here in your dark area in the value study, and actually I didn't do the value study, I just posterized the picture. And to show you that this is the mediums don't matter if they go to lights or darks, but the darks basically are this whole area. And so to keep the lights, this light, make sure that you keep them white, or yeah, I would keep them white of the paper. All right, and so anybody that got questions, please let me know. Just put it up there in the chat, and every once in a while I'll look up. It is not right in front of me like it is in my studio, but it's a hotel room on the desk, so I may not be able to look up as much as other times, but let's see what we're doing. Boy, I should have some ice for this. I should go down there. I'm not going to run down and get ice, but boy, this is really good. This Pabst Blue Ribbon hard coffee, it tastes just like iced coffee. And it's 9% alcohol too, oh boy. So we'll see. We're going to keep me up all night. Oh, you in a coffee cup. How great is that, right? Okay, so that's going to give you a 10. That's really good. All right, so here we go. Who we got here? We got Maria and Lynn also stepped in. Thanks a lot for coming by. So let's start with hoping the sound is okay. Again, a lot of times when I'm in a place, I don't know if the setup and everything's right. So if everything, something that's you think is problem, I can't do the lights that much. You know, I have shadows here, but that's nothing I can do about that, guys. It's whatever light I have here. So here we go. We're going to do the light areas first, and since the background is dark, hey, look at that. We're not going to do the background first. We are going to do the pumpkins first because they are the lightest part. And the background's dark, and so like in the landscape, we usually where the background's light, then yeah, you do that first. But here we can't do it first because the background's dark. So let's go ahead and do our pumpkins. And I'm going to wet all around the white area because I want it to be a soft edge. And so we're just going to go right here into the pumpkin right away. And just going to, oh boy, I didn't clean my palette again. Oh well, that means it's a good thing because I can use these colors that I have right here anyways, so I'm just going to put those right in there. And so if you look at the pumpkins, and actually, hold on one second, my camera is right on the top of my pictures. I can't see what's there. If I have to move it too far, I can't see your questions. Okay, there we go. So the pumpkin, we're going to start with the light parts, and so I'm going to use a little yellow. There's a little yellow in there. I did use the towel from the hotel. I think they're not going to like me actually using it as my paper towel, so I'm going to use the tissue paper here so I don't totally use up their towel. And actually, they don't change towels anymore in hotels, so I got to make sure I use this for bathing tomorrow. So we're going to go right in here to the pumpkin and see how I'm just going right. These are my lights areas, so I'm going to go right in there and get my lights and darks of the pumpkin right away. I'm leaving the whites up here, and it is soft edge because I wet it all. And again, for your beginners, to get a soft edge, just wet the whole paper and let the paint do its own soft edging. It doesn't need to be softened. You do it by letting the paint and the water soften the edge for you. I'm going to keep the, again, white of the paper. I'm going to come down here right away and do the darks right away of the pumpkin. Not so much of the other parts in there, and I can go into the other parts, so those are going to be dark. And also, if you can see, I put this pumpkin down a little bit. I made this pumpkin a little bit bigger, made this thing a little bit smaller, the handle I call it. I'm not sure if that's what they call it. I also changed this into a pumpkin because in the picture up here, it's not a pumpkin, it's probably an acorn squash right here. And so I turned that into a pumpkin. Okay, so now let's go in here and let's just make this a little bit more vibrant orange because this pumpkin is all the center of interest, so I want to make it the brightest and the most colorful part of the painting. I want it to be the center of interest, and so you go right in there, okay? And so now we're going to go right into this one, and then the top of this handle of the gourd or of the pumpkin I'm going to make that hard edged. On the bottom I don't care so much about because that'll be dark against the yellow and orange, but the top of the pumpkin I want to keep nice and white. Again, that's me, whitest, lightest light in the picture, and so I want to keep those. I want to keep those whites in there because that's what my highlight is. That's the highlight, and I don't want to put it in there with white paint because that'll just not be as bright. And so in there, I even made that a hard edge. And so down here, let's see this handle. I put another handle down here, which I'm not sure that's even one there. But and this was like a acorn squash too down here. So you decide if you want acorn squash or make it a different color. I'm going to keep an acorn squash. I'll make it more of a darker green. And I'm starting to notice now that this is getting a little lighter. So I'm going to go in here and just, again, it's still wet, so I can still put my darks in there. And that doesn't mean I only should use just the orange and yellows. If I feel like I need to gray it down a little bit, then I'll maybe take a little lavender into the orange, and I'll put that in the edge to make it a little bit not so vibrant a color too, because not so vibrant colors make the vibrant colors look more vibrant, all right? It's just obvious that that's what happens. So it's like if you have all lights, of course nothing's gonna look light. So it's always like I'm gonna have all these darks and I'll make this look really bright. So go right down here and get this orange in there too. Any questions? And so we're gonna go in here and then just make the shape of my pumpkins. And if you want to set up a still life with pumpkins, that's super great. You know, try that. There's so many pumpkins out there. I drove through the farmland today to get to Springfield, Illinois. I took the long route, and of course that was probably not the best thing to do because it rained like cats and dogs out there. And it always seems like when it's the worst rainstorm, that's when all the trucks are out, and all the trucks were out, and I thought I was going to die a couple of times. Oh my God, it just was coming down so bad that you couldn't see in front of you. And so a lot of people were pulling over and double flashing their flashers on because there was so much rain. But got here perfectly fine, perfectly good shape, did the judging of the show. All right, so there's the 2 pumpkins, right? That was pretty simple, right? You gotta let the washes and let the soft edges take care of themselves. Now this one is a green pumpkin. Oh, the acorn squash. I made it a pumpkin. You can make different colored pumpkins, right? You can make it more yellow, a little bit more red, so they can have different shades, right? So I'm gonna make this one. Maybe let's make it green. Like I guess it could be a green pumpkin. It didn't ripen, so let's just make it a dark. Or maybe like a brownish green. So here I got blue and my quinacridone gold, make my green. And so I'll make like an acorn squash green, kind of like a dark color green. I'll go in here. And as long as I keep these things dark and leave this little edge of light right here, that'll look fine, right? And so then I'm gonna come in here and soften the edge with water. Just soften that a little bit with water. And I'm going to reflect some orange into this dark because these are kind of shiny, these pumpkins sometimes. So they will reflect other colors that's around them. So a little bit of orange won't hurt it by putting a little orange into that dark. I don't know if you remember the one time when I did that outside, I did a plein air in Clayton, New York, and I had a really bright red shirt on. And it was really funny because my bright red shirt was part of the whole scene. You could really tell that it reflected the light into the picture. So even that stuff that's around me in this hotel room, if there was a red wall right here, then I would have that red coming in there. It would influence that. So watch what you're painting around too, because it'll influence what's in your picture. So this is also the green. Well, I'm gonna make this. I guess I'm gonna make that one green too, right? So we're just gonna make this bottom part green. I should wet it first so I can get the soft edges. So I'm going to wet it the whole thing just with clear water. Watching out for my line. I mean, if you want to put masking fluid on where the whites are, go right ahead. That's not a problem. That's like what we did a couple weeks ago when we put the tape on for the birch trees. You can do the same thing here with these whites. If you want to keep them white and you just don't feel you can go around them, then put masking fluid on. Now watch your paper. Know what your paper is like. Will it rip your paper? Some papers rip, some papers don't. This paper, the Stonehenge Aqua, kind of rips if you take it off too quickly, or especially masking fluid. You have to really watch out. So I had to use the tape for this paper instead of masking fluid. Masking fluid tends to really bind into the paper, and so it's harder to take it off sometimes, especially on a paper like this. It's a little bit softer than the arches, but I love the surface because it is so hard when it comes to not absorbing as much paint, which is really weird. You think it doesn't absorb as much, it wouldn't absorb the masking fluid, but it's just not as tough, I guess, as like an arches. Still a wonderful paper though. It's just amazing paper. I love it because it sits itself on top and I can rub out so easily. Now this, I'm really don't know what color to make that. I know it's a green, but let's see. So it'd be like 3 orange. Should have decided this. Well, I should make it dark, so whatever it is, you can be dark. So I'm gonna make it more of a dark orange. And so let's wet it first again, because I still, actually back there, there's no light on it, so I'm just gonna wet the whole thing. Wet the whole thing. And then make it just slightly darker. I don't know, let's see, maybe make it a burgundy type of pumpkin. I mean, you can have any kind of pumpkin you want, really. I mean, people paint pumpkins even, so they can make it. You can make it any color you like. So I'm going to make this one just darker. And again, colors. A lot of times when people ask me about colors, use the colors that you like. You know, this pumpkin can be any color it wants to be, and that's not as important as the lights and darks around it. And so the pumpkin above it is a little bit more yellow, so I'm going to put that into like a yellow. And again, I'm not leaving any white on this part because there's no white in this area. I don't want it to be because it's not in my value study. It's not dark, it's not light over there. This pumpkin though is a little bit lighter than the other pumpkins around it, so yes, you can do that lighter if you want, but I'm not going to keep any white over here. I want the light to really shine on these pumpkins and on this rim of this basket more than anything. Any questions, guys? Hi everyone, love the fall arrangement, thanks. And that's, hey Carol, hey Karen, hey Ginny. All right, no questions? Okay, I'll keep on going. Oh, I like the pumpkin though. Hey Barbie. Hey Barbie, I love the pumpkin. This is my favorite time of year. I actually love Halloween, and I used to do the front of our house like so crazy. Haven't as much lately, but I did this year. I went a little bit more, but I used to have a coffin. I used to have all kinds of stuff, and a tall 20-foot guy. I think we had almost not 20, maybe about 15 feet guy that stood in our front of our house, and we took all. I actually burned all that stuff because it took up so much space at my house. All right, so now those are my lights. Now, one more pumpkin here, and then we're gonna do the background. So I'm gonna make this one nice and dark, and I'm gonna make this one more burgundy. I don't know if there's a burgundy pumpkin out there, but we're just gonna make one. So this is gonna be like more of a burgundy type of color. I use alizarin, kind of an alizarin color. Just gonna put that in here like this. All right. And let me switch this over. I can't see something in here. Okay, there we go. And so, what else we got here? We got to get okay, we got this part. All right, so let's go in with the middle tones and start working my lights of the basket to my darks of the basket. So I'm gonna start with I'm just gonna wet the basket. And this is kind of a middle tone to white, but I'm leaving the rim of the basket white. And I'll put little reflections in there and shadows on there later. But right now I'm just taking any color I have in my brush, doesn't matter because it's all gonna be darker than this. I just need to know where I'm going, so sometimes just having a dirty brush is fine to put down your water. So that was a dirty brush, I put it down with the water, and so then we're just gonna go in here and just darken it. And it goes from a light to a dark, it seems like in my photo. And actually this seems kind of bluish in there. It's like a cool gray look to it. So I'll put some blues. And the gray or blue, you put orange, so that's how you gray it. And if you want, you can actually use grays or white. And that'll kind of dull it down. And so I'm just going to put that in here. And enough pigment, make enough pigment so that when it dries, it's 20%. It has to be 20% darker than you want it when it's wet, so that when it dries, it'll be perfect. Like if it looks right while it's wet, it's not the right color or not the right value. It's going to dry 20% lighter. So make sure that you get it a little bit darker than you want. 20% darker, matter of fact. I gotta drink some more of this coffee. This is so good. I can't believe they make a beer that tastes like hard coffee. Okay, interesting. I guess you can't really call it beer. It just has a little kick of alcohol you can taste in it, but man, put that in your cup in the morning. You'd be really waking up in the morning. So, okay, here we go. A little bit of orange down here. Hard coffee, who would ever think? So here we go, we're going to put a little black in this, and so I'm going to make it a little darker. And don't be afraid of putting, since orange is our complement here, or since orange is the color we're using, don't be afraid of putting some blue. Blue is its complement of orange, and so that will help it out a really, really lot to make it look really cool. So a little bit of blue, you know, just somewhere where it's maybe in the shadows here, a little bit of blue. And maybe in the background, especially in the background, because it is going to be a little bit cooler back there in color. And then it's also going to be dark in value. And so now over here, I'm going to cut this hard edge, make this a little bit. And I know that the handle is dark in my photo on top of a lighter background. I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to make it so that the handle is a light. I'm going to negative paint around the handle. And then back here, because I want this to stand out, and I want this to fall back a little bit, and I can put a little bit of rim lighting on here. So what are we looking at on time here? Hey Ann from Trout Valley. Hey Barbie. Hey Sonia. Thanks guys for trying the for so many of you trying the portrait. I know that was a hard thing to do, but you guys did great. And I would say the only thing I would watch out for, and most of the people, if I'm going to give any kind of critique on your guys' work, is just watch the drawing. That's the only thing I saw on most people's work. You have to watch out for the drawing. It's just obvious that you can't be off at all, not on a portrait. And I just judged the show today, and I gave this whole big talk when I got done with the judging, and I had to critique each work, and that's what mostly happens when people try to do caricature, portraiture. You got to have a good drawing, unless you do it as a caricature, or like there was one painting in this show that was more of a comic book, not comic book, but like cartoon kind of look, where it's more of a caricature. Then it's okay if you go off a little bit, or if your whole style is not so tight and kind of looser, then that's also another reason why you don't need to make it super exact to what the portrait is. You know, it all depends on what your style is. If your style suggests that it's just the way it looks like in a photo, then yes, you need to have it perfect. But if there's another kind of style you have where it's a little bit looser, then you can be off in little spots. And I can't be up here and down here and still make it look good. You know, it's got to be drawn right. All right, so there we have our foreground, and then see how the handle now is light, and so I just negative painted around it, making it come forward. And I can still put black on it in darker parts, but that'll come with the details. Now let's go to the background. And the background is where I could possibly maybe use some stencil later on too, because what I can do is I just need a texture. I mean, that's all it is back there, is a bunch of texture that I have no idea what that's back there. It's probably like maybe corn husk. I don't know. It's just a bunch of stuff back there. I don't know what it is, and a lot of times when people ask me, oh, what is that I'm painting? It's a dark, and it's a very, you know, stuff. just put a bunch of stuff back there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wet it, and I'm going to keep some spots maybe hard edged, and so I won't wet everything. And let's see, this one I want to go over because I don't have this one, this handle or stem of the pumpkin. I'm gonna keep white on the left side because the sun, I think, is coming from this side. So actually I can do actually all the way around also too. So I'm just gonna go around here, and what I'm doing now again is wetting it with water that happens to be dirty in my brush. I'm not so worried about what the color is at the moment. I'm wetting it with the dirty brush because that's what I would use before, but that doesn't matter because I'm just wetting it, and I'm going to use other colors in there and let them float. So I'm going to put enough water here so that by the time I get there it won't be dry. So do you want to spatter it? Do you want to, uh-oh, look what I did to the hotel. I better wash this hotel blanket or towel, uh-oh. I better put that over there so you can't see it. So here we go, let's see, I said blue in the background, right? So let's take a lot of blue back here. Take some, this is ultramarine deep. Just going to put some of that back there. And just because I put one color there doesn't mean it has to stay that way, remember. And I'm going to keep this light, really hard edge back here because this pumpkin is the one where I want the light to shine off the top of that. So I can go with this one color, but as I'm going along, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop there. I'm going to now put other colors in there. Maybe a different, maybe Prussian blue, maybe a little bit of purple, and just let it be, so like something back there. How about a little bit of orange and red, and this other red here I have. Just throw that in there, let that float around and be stuff. I don't know what kind of stuff. It's probably some kind of weeds or the husks or the stems of the corn stalk and stuff. It could be that. It could be anything. And so here I'm just going to go through there and just lay thick amounts of pigment in there. It's wet and it's going to soften itself, so you don't have to soften anything. Oops, am I out of the picture here? I'm just getting to. Whoops, here we go. That hard coffee is getting to me, I guess. So we're going to go through here and get again a little bit more blue. Any questions, guys? Let me know. I'm looking up every once in a while. This should be a fun one for you guys because it's not, it's not from last week. It was a tough one with drawing. But this one, if your drawing's off a little bit, who cares? A pumpkin can be any shape. A gourd, it's a gourd. So make it whatever you'd like and put any kind of colors you want in there. You make a blue pumpkin, or we kind of need to have in here some of that corn that has different colors in it too. That's kind of hard to do though because it's all these little kernels and stuff on there. So look at how many different colors I have in here now. There's red and let's get a little bit more red in here. Red, blue. Let's do some light blue. I didn't put any light blue anywhere. So maybe I should do that a little bit here. Float a little light blue in there. And kind of around the top here. You know how nice that top looks. So isn't that great when you just, and you can spatter too. I'm not gonna spatter today because again, this is not my towel, and it's a hotel towel. I don't want to get it too dirty, and they're gonna think, what the heck is that guy doing in his room? So you're gonna put a little blue in here. Let's put some rich violets, maybe rich violets. See how much I'm picking up here. Just gonna put that in there. It's pretty thick, but that's okay. It's enough water that it's gonna blend. And it's not so thick that it's gonna be like solid. It's not a solid. It's still a transparent wash. You can still see through it. I put a little water on here because I didn't wet this spot. So this corner I kind of put a scratch, and you can see the scratch right there. I wrecked the paper because I stuck it into the folder, and it just bent almost there. But didn't bend. It kind of scratched it. But if I use enough paint and I use enough water, it'll just fill it in. It'll fill in with enough of the pigment. So maybe I'll put a little bit of orange back here. A little bit thicker, and let that pigment flow. It'll be fine. It will look very transparent. All right. So now we just have to do stems and details. And this is going to be definitely have to be darker, and so is that one. But we're going to let that dry a little bit, and as that's drying, we're going to work in this area. So now I'm going to finally use my other brush. I'm going to use my round and see what time it is. If there's any questions, still no questions. Come on, guys, ask me a question. And so it doesn't even have to be about the painting. It could be about that beer. Any kind of question you want to ask, it's fine. Let's see, we're going to do this part now. Let's see, what should these stem color be? It looks like they're green in here also, but aren't they kind of like gray and brown normally? I guess we can make them any color we want, right? So I'm going to make them kind of greenish gray. And just on the side where the light is hitting, I'm going to go on the opposite side, make the darks through there. Keeping the one side nice and light. Thanks, Jenny. Good advice. I will wet the towel and get rid of the paint. Oh, that's a good idea. And so we can go through here. I should have brought a towel with. I totally forgot to bring a towel with. I normally do that, but didn't have a chance this time. It was a lot of. I also forgot a bunch of things. Too many things going on. All right, so here we go with the light blue now on the back side of the stems. I'm putting a little light blue, just floating it in there. So there's some color in there, and it also can reflect a little bit of the orange in there. And also you can tell I'm using tissue paper, not paper towel. It's pretty, and that maybe get some more in a second. Let's put a little bright orange in here. And how about yellow, reflecting into the dark area? You can do that. Anything can be any color. It all depends on what's around it. You know, you really can reflect anything. And then there's also a color scheme you got to follow. Like I'm using oranges, and like in the warm orange field. And so actually it's ending up being orange and green because my blue with the yellows and stuff are turning a little more green. So this is actually going to be more of a reddish, you know, warm to green, I think, color scheme, which I rarely do, but you know, it's just going that way. That's a comment I don't really suggest always making sure that you know exactly what color scheme you're using. You know, it's just kind of what you feel at the moment. Sometimes works just as well. I kind of like to do that, where I'm just letting the paint and see what I feel like that day. Not always making sure I do use exactly a certain color. You know, that kind of is boring. So here we go. We're gonna wet this area here, just making it a little darker, letting that bleed in there. You can also soften an edge afterwards too, so you don't have to always. Let me just get on my front of my chair here. Just wait. Oh, there we go. So you don't always have to. What you don't want to always do is that you don't have to make a soft edge all the time. So what you can do the soft edge afterwards. So like here it was hard edged when it started. So what I do is I just wet it afterwards and then just blend it a little bit into the part of that pumpkin. So you just wet it afterwards, and then just put it right on, and it'll soften again because you wet it. And it doesn't have to be always the first time. You can also do it afterwards too. See, like that's a hard edge right now. Now watch this. I'm just going to take a little bit of water, dampen my brush. I'm not going to make it really wet, but I'm just going to dampen it, and then look at this, instant soft edge. I just went over with a damp brush. You don't have to make each one, you know, each
each edge that you have go from right to soft edge right away. If you missed it, that's fine. You can definitely get it afterwards too. Now I'm going to go reverse this. I'm going to make this a light stem on the bottom here, lighter than the top, and then as it goes to the top, I'm going to reverse it to make it really dark on top. That's kind of like juxtaposition the values. I love to do that in watercolor, where you take it from dark on top here, and then it goes to a light because it's surrounded by darks on both sides, and the top is surrounded by lights. And so that's a great technique to use when you're doing like negative painting, and going from negative painting to positive painting in one wash. It's a really cool trick that you can really use well in watercolor. So one more stem here. Maria asked, how can we make the orange glow in areas of the pumpkin? Not on Halloween glow, but in terms of vivid color. Well, for one, you want to use a bright, like brilliant orange and yellow. And even mine are in my photo, as I see right here right now, I didn't get dark enough with the orange. And I'm still going to do that because it's still not glowing enough here. So the darker you get with your color or with your values, better for the glow, but then also a really vibrant color that we have. You know, if you have an orange that's almost fluorescent, then use it. You know, it's just, it also depends on if you want it to be, what do you call it, light fast. But this color is a little bit too light for the dark area. This is supposed to be in the shadow. And so that's a little bit too light, so I'm going to re-wet this area and then get it a little bit darker. Didn't get it dark enough because I wasn't looking at, I thought the value and the color was vibrant enough, but it really isn't dark enough. If you look at my value study up here, look at how dark that pumpkin is. And if you squint your eye, that's not the same change that I have going here, so I'm going to redo that. And but first let me just see what else I got to do here first. And oh, this one stem, and then we'll get into that. So I'm going to use this brush for that stem. It's a little bit smaller, the stem. But yeah, so it's about the darks. Tina asked, what are some good online sites to order Holbein watercolors? Boy, that's always a hard one because you just have to check them all out and see which ones are on sale. All the colors on every site have now gone up, and every manufacturer, they've all gone up to about, I think the cheapest now is maybe 12 bucks a tube of the 15 millimeter, I think, the bigger tubes. They used to be 9, now I think they're most of them. If you can get them on sale, like at any place like Jerry's or Jerry's Artorama or Cheap Joe's, or that's what you want to do, is just try to see if you can't find those areas and then order if they're on sale. Is it okay to talk about upcoming workshops? Absolutely. Yes, you can talk about them. I can talk about them too in a second. Let me see any other questions. Yeah, I have a workshop coming up in North Dakota, Fargo, North Dakota, which is actually online, and so anybody can take it. It's going to be a 3-day workshop online, and it's going to be like I run my regular workshops, but from my studio at home. So you're going to see this a lot, what I'm doing right here, right now. So if you just want to do that now like you're doing normally, that's fine, but I will try to see if I can't, it's going to be on Zoom, not going to be on YouTube. It'll be on Zoom, and we'll be able to talk to each other, you know, not through thing, but we actually literally can talk to each other. I'm not sure what the limit is. I think the limit is 15. I know that some of you have already signed up. A couple of you I know that signed up for it, and thanks a lot. And we'll see you then. It's at the end of October. I think 3 days in the end of October. It is a weekend till again, so you're gonna be on a weekend. So this weekend I've got a workshop here in I was gonna say St. Louis. We're close to St. Louis, but in Springfield, Illinois. And this one is all booked up, and so that's the other one. And then I don't think I have anything until next year, because November, December. November I'm going down to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm going to be at the Jerry's Artorama. I'm not teaching there though. You can come up to me in the booth at Legion Papers or at Holbein, and you can visit me there, and I'll be doing demonstrations. And so I'm not doing a class. They don't want me for some reason. I've tried to get in there for many years, but instead I'm going to go in the booth with the Holbein people and the Legion people, more in the Legion with the black paper. I'm going to be demonstrating on the black paper.
which we are still going to do. Sorry guys, I just make sure you got your black paper because soon we're going to be doing it. I just want to make sure that we have a good amount of people having the paper and stuff, and so order your Stonehenge Aqua Black, and we'll be doing one of those soon. I don't know exactly yet, exact time, but soon. That's all I can say. I just want to make it a good one. So let me see here. We're just going to get these little details in here. And now let me go over these pumpkins because they're not dark enough. Unfortunately, they're not dark enough. I should have got them darker in the first wash, but you can always do it. It's not going to be like a disaster or anything like that. And this is actually a good example to show you how you can go over it twice. Sue asks, what are you painting? What do you mean? In the workshops or what I'm painting right now? This is a pumpkin. I hope it looks like a pumpkin. The workshop in Fargo, North Dakota for the Red River Watercolor Society, we're going to have all new, so if you have taken my workshop at Dillman's or anything, we're not doing the same ones, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, let's see, now I'm going to wet the surface again here with just clear water. I'm going to go over this one more time. Unfortunately, I didn't get it the right darkness, so I'm going to go over it again. As long as you go really lightly over it with water, now I can use it like it's the first time. I'm going to go with a nice vibrant dark though, a little bit darker value, because it wasn't quite dark enough. The value wasn't dark enough to make the sun look really bright here. So I'm going to put a little bit darker, get the little things in there and make it so that it just has a little bit more darkness to it. It's all about the values, guys. You have to follow the values, and see how it didn't work so much when you don't do it right the first time. You can always, like I said, you can do it a second time, but you don't really want to. You want to do it on the first wash because that's when you get the best looking washes on that first wash. You can get them on second, third, and fourth as long as you let it dry and then just make sure that it's nice and wet and it still floats, and then you get a much nicer look to your washes. And also I'm going to put a little bit of blue into these washes because it'll reflect, and it'll just look neat to have some blue reflecting in there. And it'll make, by having a gray, getting back to the one question that, who said that, asked that? I forgot, Maria asked that. You can also, by putting a gray next to a orange, like the blue will make that orange look brighter. So that's another way of doing it. By dulling down your values in your dark, you can up the light and the color. And I'm going to put some yellow in here, but I need to have that value to be dark. Otherwise you don't get the look of the light shining on top of there and being really bright. But see how that changed it from now being, this is the way it was, right? Not dark enough. It's the right color probably that I'm looking at, but it's not the right value. So I just have to go for the darker value. And I can still put oranges and yellows and stuff in here, and then also the grays to make that pop even more. But we're going to do the same thing over here now. So I'm just going to get a little bit darker, and that's actually going to be an okay thing. And it was actually good that I did that, so I'll show you that you can go a second time. I planned it that way, really. I did. So we're going to go down here and then just go with one color, but then see how it looks, how terrible it looks if it's just one color and not other colors in there. So here, I put a little bit of the blue in there, put a little bit of maybe burgundy, then I darken it, go around this. But now this little stem right there is not going to look as vibrant because I'm going dark around it. So, oh well, it's not really important, that stem anyways, right? So now we're getting a little bit darker here, but we still got to go darker higher up so that we can show the difference between the light area and the dark area. That's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to show that this is the shadow area and the white area above is definitely separate and different from the shadow area. You got to separate them. They cannot be one and the same. The shadow area is shadow area and it's the darks, and your lights are the light. They got to be lighter than anything else on the picture, otherwise you don't get that feel of the light that you want in your painting. Did I miss any questions? How can we make it? Hold on really quick, I'm just going to check to see, what are you painting? Oh yeah, okay, so at the workshop we're going to be painting all kinds of stuff. Like we did in, I choose all kinds of different things, from boats to skies to all kinds of stuff. Are you planning more details on the basket? Yes, definitely going to do more on the basket. How much time do I have here?
Oh, it's only 7:09. I guess I got plenty of time. What am I going so fast for? Another sip. Cheers, guys. Cheers. Here's it. Wake me up all night because of this coffee. I can't drink coffee at night because I stay up all night, so I got a feeling I'm going to be up all night with this coffee. Oh boy, what am I doing? Okay, so let's see. Any other questions? What colors are you using to get darker and more vibrant? So the colors I'm using are the alizarin purples, and let's use some dark blues here, like the ultramarine deep. I'm going to go in there and get some more of these ultramarine deeps in there. And I think let's get a little bit more orange in there. All right, so now let's get some details back here, or some darker parts back here, because I know it's the same thing happened back here. I got two lights because remember this whole area should be dark, right? It doesn't have light, though I think I can do a little bit of light here just to kind of give it another interest over here. I don't think that's a bad thing over there. But I do need to get this a little bit darker, the pumpkin itself. I'm going to do a little bit darker just to kind of get your eye away from this area. All right, so now detail in the baskets. And so let's go for a detail brush. And so since we have plenty of time, let me think about this and see if there's any more questions. Darkening those values really made the pumpkin pop. Yep, that's what it's supposed to do. Yeah, I mean the pumpkins were too light, and even this part is still a little bit too light. You know, see how light it is? So I can wet it again, but now I have to wait till it dries because now it's damp, and so you cannot go in when it's damp unless you want a watermark. If you want a watermark, go ahead, but you want to kind of keep that a little bit, let it dry, and I can go back in and get it a little bit darker in here again, and it still looks fresh. As long as you float that pigment, you can keep it fresh. Yeah, let's see what else. Okay, so let's get our details on our basket. So the basket has, if I look in the picture, it has these little, for one, it has a rim that has a little divider in it. So I'm going to put a little line, if I possibly can, right down the middle here. Oh, look at the coffee's making me shake. This is coffee. Oh boy, what do I do? What did I do? Okay, we're going to go here. Put a little stop there. Maybe this one has two little things on it. And little lines coming down that show the difference between the little slats in the. This one has like a little slat right there. Maybe that's a little bit too much. I'm gonna wipe a little bit with my fingers so I don't see that vibrant thing. Now over here I can do a little bit more. I can do a little bit thicker because it's closer one, right? And so here I'm gonna do around the handle. Maybe I'm gonna stop it right here. Then I'm going to do these little, it has these little staples in it. Staple, 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 staple. And it's weird because when I draw it, I kind of memorize it. And so a lot of you looking, and I don't look up a lot of times when I'm doing certain things because I'm not looking at it because I already drew it. So if you've drawn it, you should pretty much know what you drew. And that's how come I was talking about when you're drawing to memorize the object that you're doing. And then that way you can just draw it from your imagination. I'm coming out with that book. Hopefully it'll be out soon. I said that about 3 years ago, right? And so it's written, but I just have to get the subject matter for it. Now I'm going to put on my glasses because I do have to see a little bit more details in here. So when you have details, put on your glasses. So I'm just going to go in here and just get the handle a little bit dark side of the handle. And then maybe the little edge of this part. And roughly, I'm not going to be, it's not photo perfect, it's not photorealistic. It's just, I want to get the right things in the right area. And maybe the stem's going to have a little bit of detail on it. Maybe there's a little texture on there. So let's say I wanted to use a stencil on this. I could do the stencil in the background, but see, it's going to make it light. And so this really wouldn't be a good one to do a stencil on because I think it would be just too much stuff in there because you'd lighten it up basically, and I don't want it lighter. I want it, if anything, I want things darker. So I put the stencil in as a dark. Maybe that would work. You could do like put a stencil down there and then just darken it and make it some kind of texture on top of that. And I do have some stencils right here. I may do that just to show you guys. I mean, I've started with the stencils in classes and stuff. I really haven't taught that much here on my Thursday nights. But one day I'll do one with the stencils big time. Let me just let this dry. That's still wet, but let me 1 second. I'm just going to go over into my little art case, and I'm going to pull out a stencil. I just want to show you what you can possibly do in the background. And it's not going to be taking out, because I don't want to take any lights. I want to take out the dark. I want to put in dark just to give it kind of a stencil look. And actually, I think this actually right here now has to be a little bit darker, because I think, oh wait, oh, it's got this little rim right there. Let's do this, maybe that, because it kind of is like, there's too much of a rectangle there. And so I'm going to do this type of thing. There's a little part of the basket that's also has a little. Maybe I'll take my rectangle brush, my flat brush, and kind of go across it a little bit. What if you darken the pumpkin on the left, the one on that's mostly green? Darken that one? Let me think. Yeah, maybe the side here could be a little darker and then keep the top. But I'm getting good light up here, so that's going good. And just this, I want a little bit of that. And I like the reflected light that's bouncing back. I'm not going to make it darken that, because that's reflected light from something else. Background stem is somewhat distracting. Thought you were going to eliminate it. This one, yeah, that is kind of. Yeah, I was going to eliminate it, wasn't I? So let's eliminate it. Well, I'm not going to eliminate it. I'm just going to make it not so sticking out so much. So what I'll do is I'll do a dark around it, and maybe let me go through it, because it is, like you said, it is a little distracting. It could be a thing back there, but when I use the stencil, maybe we can get rid of that too by putting it dark on top of it. Well, that actually worked out pretty well right there. All right, let's darken this part a little bit. What is it? Oh, here I was working down here. How much time did I get? Oh, 16. Still got plenty of time. This one went really fast. Make this a little bit like that. Darken this up a little bit here. Okay, so there we got that. Oh, I was going to darken this pumpkin. Is it still? Hold on 1 second. I'm just going to walk over here just for a second to see if I can find a stencil. So here I have a bunch of stencils. So let me think. Let's see, what would be good for a background? Not honeycomb. Oh, maybe honeycomb. No, because that's going to be too much dark. Triangles? Boy, that's the hard part, is trying to figure out what kind of stencil you want to use. What could we use? What could we use? Musical notes? No. Nothing. Nah. Swirly whirls? Not too much. None of those. Oh, I just went over that. That was wet. Darn it. All right, now you got rid of that really quick. How about some of these? Grainy look. Oh boy, not sure. I think it's gonna have to be the honeycomb. So what I can do is, what I might be doing is putting it dark down, so then this part will be the light. And so I don't know if I wanted that dark though, because I'm not rubbing out. I'm putting in. So what I'm doing is I'm making this my light, and so all you'll see, these dark lines will be here, and it'll be even darker. I'm not sure if I want to do that with this kind of look. No, that's not going to look good. It's the hard part, is about when you're putting in a stencil. It has to be part, it still has to be dark up here, and I don't want to give it too much attention because it'll take away from the rest of the painting. Chicken wire. No, I don't have any chicken wire. It'd be nice to have chicken wire. I could actually just go over it with the chicken wire. Or I could put chicken wire in. I can actually just put little lines in there too. Some people do that, where they actually just paint things in. You know, you don't have to actually have a stencil. You can actually just paint the thing in. I went over this with my stencil, so it ruined this a little bit here. So I'm just gonna let that dry. That's going to here now. This is dry. Let me just show you one more time about the pumpkin, because that didn't. It still got too light. So I'm gonna go over this again with water. So if you put water over something, it's not gonna do anything to it if you do it really lightly. Just really lightly. I like this part right here, so I'm gonna leave that alone. Just gonna go over in here and get this darker, and actually put in a little bit of maybe yellow, and then some really darks over here. on the bottom, especially closer to the basket down here. It can be a little bit darker. It can kind of come up. And again, it's wet, so I'm getting soft edges, so we're good with that. Darken the left, highlight on top. Darken, but leave the light line. Okay, darken this whole pumpkin, I think, right there. Alright, let me see. Where's my paper towel? Or my tissue paper. Let's get this a little bit darker. And let's make this, I went into my white here a little bit, so that's not good. Pull that out of there real quick. A little bit darker. Take a nice really dark and just kind of flick it in there real quick. It can be a little bit darker in some spots and it can be harder edged. That's fine. You can even add texture with things like salt and spatter. I'm not, like I said, I don't want to spatter tonight. This whole room is like really expensive room. I don't want to be cleaning it afterwards. And so, I haven't figured out a good stencil for it because I don't want to ruin it. So we're going to do a stencil some other time, and I'll show you how to use a stencil. We're also going to darken that a little bit. That pumpkin, it was a dark green, like I said, and so we're going to darken this a little bit on that side. All right, that's a little bit darker. Really darken down in here, because this should look like it's way in there. And if I do find a stencil for it, I may post it on my site there, on my BeckerArt group and on Facebook, to show you if I do find a stencil that I think will work. Right now I just don't think I have anything here at the moment. Let me just look one more time. Wait, how much time we got? We got a little more time. Your baskets are great. This is wonderful. Let me just look for any other stencils here. That's I have. There's a lot of stuff. Oh, kind of out of. How about grasses? Oh, what did I do here? How about some grasses? Yeah, let's try this. What the heck? So the stencil will be put on top, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not taking out. I'm putting in, and so which is a little bit harder to do with watercolor because I can't make it wet. So it's going to be a little bit more of a dry brush on there. I could use my airbrush, but I don't have an airbrush here with me at the moment. So a lot of times I would do that with an airbrush and just put it right over that. But what I want to do is just take pure pigment, hardly any water, and just rub across it with a nice dark. So I'm taking like a lavender here, even a little black. I'm just gonna like dab it and tap it. Again, I don't want much water on here because water, what will do, you know what it's going to do, it's going to pick up. And so I don't want that. I just want to kind of go in there and make a dark on top of what's already dark, and then that's become my light area of the darks. So I'm tapping. I can also use, they have these brushes that they use for stencil brush. They're like, you've seen them, they're like the stencil thing, you can just go straight down on it, but you can use your brush like this, just go straight down. And again, no water on your brush, because if you put water down there, that's going to get really underneath this stencil and make a mess. It'll make a total mess, and you'll hate me for it. So don't hate me for it. And so here, I'm just going in here. Let's see what this looks like here. Oh, look at that! Isn't that nice? Look at that. It's amazing what a little stencil will do. So clean this off. Oh, I can't do that on this nice towel. I gotta do it on my do it on my apron. And so now over here a little bit, and we'll be all good, right? We'll be done. How awesome is that? It still worked. So I'm gonna tap in here, get some little stencil effect in here. I'm just tapping straight down. I don't know if you can tell that. I just tap straight down like this, just up and down. And here you go. Wooded area. No grasses. It's the grasses in the background. It's supposed to be nothing, you know, and then you can even go like this if you feel it's too much of there. Now if you can see that, can you see how it worked out?
So it got a little stencil, a little bit of effect back there. And so I think that it worked. All right, let's take the tape off, and I think we got another one done. And we got 5 minutes left. How about that? Okay, so let's take the tape off and see what it really looks like with the little border on it. That's how I put tape on. People ask me, why do I tape it down? For one, is that way I can move it around like this if I'm doing something that I need to move around. And I'm probably going to spatter this one and maybe even use a toothbrush and get a little bit more texture on there. Again, I'm not going to do it tonight because I'm in a hotel room that's kind of a little bit too nice at the hotel room to sit there and spatter on their wall and stuff. So I think that would help a little bit actually, to give a little bit of texture in the pumpkin, because they have a lot of little stuff in there, so it's fun to spatter. And so here I just did a little bit of grassy stencil, and so there's a little background that gets just grassy back there. So here we go. There we have a little bit of a nice pumpkin patch painting. And one thing I see now is that I can still do that. I'm gonna make that part of a green, like this part of a green pumpkin. And then this could be less, but I'm gonna leave it alone. All right, you gotta stop it sooner or later. And I think that's it, guys. Well, thanks again for dropping by. I'm not going to take another sip of that coffee because it's going to keep me up all night. But it was very good. It was a very good, actually, I'm going to get some more of this. And it's actually good for like during the day and when you have ice and stuff. But thanks, guys, for coming by. And let me see if there's any last questions. Love the stencil effect. Looks awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will see you guys in a week. Next week, we're going to, next week I do have, yep, I'll be here. I'll be back in my studio. And again, if you ever had suggestions of what you would like to have painted and what you think you want to do, we're going to do a few more fall scenes. What the heck, this fall, and it's fun to do the orange and yellows and stuff. So thanks again, guys. We will see you next week. All right, bye-bye. See you later.